What we're going to talk about today is tools for self-discovery. And thank you, Michael, for joining me again today to talk about your book and growing our human potential.
Real pleasure, Marissa. It's great to be back. And this whole effort, A Person to Grow Self-Discovery, really is based on the fact that you really want this, because it's tough. It's hard. It's taking that hard look within. And if you don't have that reason, motivation for that, which really to me defines ready, then you're probably not going to go very far or resist it or things like that. So great stuff.
Yeah.
Looking forward to today.
Ready, and being ready can be, 10% ready, but you're making that decision to do something. And maybe it doesn't click right away. Can we talk a little bit just about the tools for self-discovery and maybe talk about, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean by tools?
Excellent. Great question. Like that 10% ready or whatever, they're ready inside, but they don't know what to do. How do I get started? And very often people will say, I don't have a lot of money. And I said, that's fine. That's okay. Where there's a will, there's a way. There's a bunch of different tools, meaning that they each serve unique purposes or interests. And so if you can bring a bag loaded with different tools to the concept of your personal growth and self-discovery, you're going to see a much broader, better image of self, just like a house is going to be much more beautiful, much more effective if I bring all of the right tools to the job site.
We talked about the free tools. Maybe one free tool that really was impactful for you.
It's about rebuilding oneself. It's about discovering the potential we have that often has laid dormant there deep within us, because we often had overshadowing it unhealthy beliefs, issues because of our past, because of whatever the reason is that's clouding our ability to be able to get in touch with that. Why, you asked about a favorite one, and that's why I always begin with affirmations. It's the ability to be able to create an I am statement. I am happy. I am a good person. I am joy. I am peace. I am getting better every day. If you use a software analogy and something's not working, right? So you create a program, there's a problem with it. Very often it's bad code, right? And they've got to go in and find what that bad code is and fix it. Well, within us, that's sort of what's our code is sort of our subconscious. Those are the things that play a huge effect in terms of our attitude, our belief system, and therefore our life experience and what it's like and the consequences that we experience. I was fortunate to spend time with was a Native American Indian, and they talked a lot about their traditions. One of the sayings that they said is if the world outside looks troubled, first look within. Therein lies the solution. Where's the bad code in me, the unhealthy belief? The concept of affirmations is the most powerful way that we reprogram ourselves. Really just what lies deep in our subconscious, our beliefs truly about ourselves. That's really what it is. So, I was told this probably near every day I grew up is Michael, you'll never amount to anything. You're worthless, and so on and so on. I believe that became a core belief. Well, that belief had a huge impact in so many aspects of my life that I was living up to it, right? I was proving it to myself because that was the power of what a belief does. It sort of creates that self-fulfilling prophecy. But in this case, now understanding what happened through that process of personal growth and counseling came the opportunity to start changing it. And so there was one, rather than saying to myself, I'm worthless, I'm not going to amount to anything, I had to start reprogramming myself. And I had to start saying, I am a good person. I am worthwhile. I do amount to something, even though in the beginning, I didn't even believe it. Because I'd been so many years believing the unhealthy belief that it was very weird to be able to say this to myself. But like anything, it takes repetition. It's repeating it. It's a daily and sometimes even multiple times through the day, and then learning advanced techniques about doing it in front of a mirror when you're looking at yourself. So profound. incorporating your name into this. I love and accept myself, Michael, just the way I am. These are things that now I can sort of rattle off because in large part, I do believe. But I always say is that still a steady part of my diet for personal growth and self-discovery daily for me is repeating these affirmations. Why?
Yeah.
Because the core issues that I had were very, very deep. And those things can resurrect themselves. That's one of the tools I think that have a profound effect on people, free of charge, just requires the discipline of being able to do that on a regular basis.
Did you come up with them yourself?
Like anything, it's sort of going back to that house analogy, you have to build that foundation. Remember, as we talked about in the overview session, that framework, which has the 3 levels, personal growth, self-discovery, and then enlightenment. In that personal growth stage, a lot of the times you really can subscribe to them, the online apps. For me, it was a book and poems by Louise Hay, who was one of the many great authors on this topic. By the way, that's the 2 most important times of the day is when you wake up and just before going to bed. The most powerful times to be able to utilize these affirmations, think positive thoughts. So many of us go to bed just watching the night news with all of that negativity, and it really does have an impact. Then as you come to understand your particular issues, you'll begin to refine affirmations that deal with very specific issues. I began to start writing my own, and that sort of ties into the other great free tool, and that's the journal. And I just love to briefly touch on that, and we touch base here and then quickly on it. There's no better tool if you're doing the work than a journal, so to keep track of it, and part of it, once you start giving yourself permission to just say it like it is, and in fact, really write it as it is, use it. It's not prose and poetry. There's a lot of 4-letter words. There's a lot of things that come out. And if you get that steady practice in there, it allows you to sort of get it out. So for me, that was that clue that I was harboring anger, because I was realizing homework would be go home and write about your mom, go home and write about your dad. And, then as I started to utilize the journal, I realized, oh my God, I'm angry, and I'd come back and learn that. So journaling is unbelievable powerful. That's just one example of it, but that's another thing I recommend to everybody to do is to begin the use of a journal for your journey. And it's amazing to be able to look back and sort of see how far you've come.
Right. Yeah. I do want to talk about journaling, but before we go there, the affirmations for me, like you talked about, looking for them online. I'm sure there's books, there's poems. I'll talk about my experience, like through my journey and being able and blessed to be able to be in some really good company of people that have done the work or guide people through work of self-discovery and personal growth and all that. They offered these affirmations to me. They said, say these 2 things. And that's been since, I think, it was probably March that I've had, got these from this woman, and they're on Post-it notes on my light when I leave my room, and then in my bathroom, and it's every day. And then I have an app that says, hey, did you repeat your affirmations today? And this comes, later on in the evening, and just to make sure that I didn't forget, because they apply to everything. And I want to share one of them, because I think, there is only this moment, and this moment is perfect, because your reaction, your anger, your sadness, everything is all because of something from your past or an expectation of the future. And so reminding yourself that, this right now, this is what's happening. Something happened, and you can choose whether or not you can go into your hole and, get angry, or you can, say, what, let me just reset. It's almost like a reset every time. So those are definitely really powerful, and they do reprogram. I hate using that word because it's not like a robot, but it's Jedi mind training, right? Like you're retraining your brain to like think differently and different than how you have grown up.
Yeah, fundamentally, you are learning how to believe in
Mhm.
yourself, right?
Mhm.
That's it. And there,
Mhm.
it's interesting talking about it right here. You know, this
Yeah,
is right in front of me is let
yeah,
life happen, be me, and that came up, as a result of the pandemic, as things were coming, and it was starting to get stressed. There was fear in terms of what's going on, and I started to step back and realize, okay, this is it's there. What's a kind of affirmation? Let life happen. Be
right.
me. Continue to be me. That's what I have control of. Be me, let life happen. And so we utilize those things I do every day, and they're free and they're incredibly powerful because they really help to develop our belief system to what we want them to be.
Right. Right. And I think, on the journaling part, you've been through a lot of growth. You've been doing it for years. I don't know how many years ago you went to your first workshop. Um, I've only been doing it for a little bit, but I think the journaling part, a lot of people are like, well, what do I write? What do I say? What am I doing? How is this? And if you're a perfectionist, which is, something that maybe from your childhood, you end up just not writing. And I've come across people that have told me this, and what I offer in that sense is there is no manual for this. There is no way to do a journal the right way. It's just getting your thoughts from your head into paper. And that will, that could offer, you could bring that to therapy. You could, share it with your support group, other tools that we're going to talk about. But it does allow your thoughts to just get down on paper. And, one of the tricks, I won't say tricks, but maybe tools that I would say, if you have not journaled before, you don't know what to do, is have a gratitude journal where you just write things you're grateful for. And that can, change your mindset. Or have a daily journal, just like, 3 things that you've done today that you were proud of, or something, where it's just, that those are all different ways to journal, and it does add up into your journey of self-discovery.
Early examples of journaling, self-reflection things is Benjamin Franklin. And you
Mhm.
can look it up, Google it. It's the 13 virtues. He identified these 13 virtues that wanted to represent who he was. Every evening, reflect on the 13 virtues, and each day there was a little box of which he would write, how did he do? Where did he miss? So that steady process of a few
Mhm.
minutes every day helped to steer him and stay on track to what he wanted to be. So it's this whole element of you can bring it to a few moments each day.
So we talked about affirmations and journaling. Do you want to talk about developmental workshop? I don't know if you want to talk about that some more, and maybe highlight what that means for people that don't know what an intensive workshop could be.
I had looked up, I had done some of my own research and identified, what was referred to an intensive workshop. So it was a workshop where I actually had to volunteer to be, locked within the compound. They had specialists that really helped to work on different topics. So in this particular case, it was being able to really learn how to deal with emotions, get in touch with my emotion, help us to get in journaling, utilizing a lot of these tools to start being able to say, how you feeling right now? Rather than just saying, what do we all say? Hey, how you doing? How you feeling? Oh,
Right.
good, right? We all said that. No, stop that. Let's really go for ourselves. We still may say good to everybody else, but we want to know ourselves how we're doing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
scared. I'm fearful. I'm not really doing good. I'm nervous. I'm all of these range of emotions that I don't think I had because I had suppressed, right? I learned to suppress that as a result of the abuse and trauma in my childhood. And so this got me in touch with them, and specifically to anger, helped to really deal with a very safe way of which, the Nerf bat came out, and in a way to really just start hitting something to allow us, in a controlled setting to be able to learn how to release anger. And then that would be our work for that evening is go up and practice it and do some of that too, which really incredibly helped. And it took the better part of a week to work out, a lot of what that anger was within me. And as they mentioned too, is that failure to do that, guess what? Anger held within that are raise havoc with the system, create diseases, right? That create a very unhealthy eruption or a moment or sideways anger. So that's the concept of an intensive workshop, is to go in and focus on something very specific where you need a little more degree of focus and effort to be able to improve upon something that you'd have. I would have had a lot of difficulty or challenges trying to do it by myself. Then you get into things like support groups. There's that saying, I must do it myself, but I cannot do it alone. Through the people I met in group therapy, so there was counseling, then I from there joined group therapy, then I joined these support groups. And I realized, wow, they're out there for everything today. And as I discovered the right ones, which took a little bit to really identify ones where I felt comfortable, I felt connected, people there related to what I was going through, that I started to create whole new connections in life. Personality assessments, that's one. What a great way to begin to understand you, right? We all have a unique personality. There's things that we may share in common in our personality types, but the collective of it is a very unique personality. And there's a multitude, an array of these personality assessments, some free, some paid, that in effect, the analogy I use is that with each personality assessment I took, it was like taking a picture of myself from this angle. Then I took another one and it was an angle from over here and then over here. And over time, what I had was this collage of pictures, which was really forming me, my personality. Really important to understand the pros and cons. Good example of that is with respect to personality assessment. There's often letter acronyms to sort of describe it. Oh, I'm an INFP. That right now that's tendency that may be there, but don't lock yourself into
Right.
it.
I want to touch on one point because you were talking about your finding the support groups and some don't fit. The perception of a lot of people that are looking for support groups is they find one and that should be it. That should be their support group. But I think it's important to listen to the feelings you get when you are interacting with people and see if it feels right and it feels good for you, because the last thing you need to do is try to be working on yourself and then have some anxiety or some hesitation with the group that you're.
I know I was within one for a couple of years, but then I started the basis of this enlightenment phase, and where others were still in the discovery phase. And, their premise was, oh no, I'll forever be this way. And I'm going to have to keep going to this. And I said, no, I don't believe that to be true. And, if I do, I'll come back, let that be my learning. However, I feel, and I start to listen to myself in that feeling, the desire to move on. And so you're right. It's ultimately in all of this, what it's doing is it's growing your self-awareness. And the more you can understand itself, then you can do something.
Yeah, and you talked about the personality assessments. That when you were saying, how you take a picture from here, here, and here, all the different. What I thought in my head when you said that was like a diamond, like a gem, like with different facets. And I think that's what we all are. There's different hard edges and stuff like that. So there's one actually that I do want to mention. It's called crystal, which is kind of interesting that it's called a crystal because crystals have different edges and different facets. But it does analyze like your writing and your writing style, and not necessarily like how you would answer a question, but you give like, it's your writing style. And then it gives you all of these things, like how you would be, how you could, in a business sense, like how you can engage in conversations with this person.
That's a perfect example. There's so many of these tools out there. There is no recipe you're going to pull out. Okay, I'm about to do personal growth. What do I do? How do I do that? No, there's not a one size fits all. There are some basics that may support it. Upfront counseling is always a great idea, to go and get some initial structure. But along the way, as you begin to discover it, you'll find your way. You'll find the things that sometimes you'll find them, and as you start believing faith in life and synchronicity, they'll come to you.
Right.
You know, and all you have to do is recognize them.
Right.
And again, that's an advanced topic, but it's an awesome stage to start coming to you when you realize that everyday life is your teacher.
So is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of the tools? I know you cover them pretty intensely in the book, but I'm not sure if there's anything that we maybe missed that we want to share.
Really key in any of these is to come in with an open mind, to listen to the feedback. The Sarah response is that S is surprise. No, that can't be me. That can't be true.
Mm-hmm.
Anger, oh my God, this came from others. What's wrong with them? How can they say this about? Then third step, rationalization. Well, maybe it was just a bad day. Maybe it was that one time I did that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Until finally, as you work through those stages, which is what requires an open mind to get through those phases, you ultimately come to acceptance. Great story is it was a personality assessment that really triggered so much of my personal growth. And very quickly, it was lifestyles inventory. It was a 360-degree feedback. It was while I was working. I was new to supervision. My whole role was to really grow in leadership. I was identified as a high potential. Early on, my manager said, hey, doing really well, hearing things here. There is, however, a little bit of disgruntlement about, that you're not allowing others to participate, maybe introduce ideas. Guess what I said? What's wrong with them? Right. But coincidentally, synchronistically, whatever word you want to use, I was reading Dennis Waitley's Being the Best, and it was about keeping an open mind, being willing to change oneself. I went back to my boss and finally said, you know what? I want to reconsider my first reaction to how can I find more about it? Well, I said, well, talk to so-and-so, they know about these things here, and I did, and took this assessment 360 degree, and I got all of this feedback, and I could just go forever on this, but it was very useful in so many ways. I realized some of my core issues. I took the profile, which was this circle image with all of these data points. Guess what it said? Mine most closely related to a heart attack victim.
Yes, I remember that part of the book.
Oh my gosh. Talking about surprise, anger, rationalization, right? And then in the acceptance, it said, you know what? I've got some work to do. And that's what led me from the personal growth I was doing at work into the personal growth I was doing in my personal life.
Yeah, but luckily you had the right people in place and you had the open mind to continue to do it instead of just throwing it away and walking away and just being
and that was the difference, right? A year ago, that wouldn't have happened. And then really work through that process to get through the surprise action and to be able to get to that rationalization and then ultimately get to acceptance. That's the work. That's the thing. And then starts becoming the ahas. I get to utilize these things and understanding my personality, not only to guide me through life, to improve myself, but to also make sure it fits with respect to the career, work, relationship. Start sharing our personality assessment results with each other, just like we do at work, to really build more understanding of each other and what works and what doesn't work.
Exactly. If people are looking for maybe resources or links to, in addition to the book, obviously you go through in detail about the book, but should they visit your website for some resources or a webinar? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. It's so the first part is getting the basics. So the book to me is some of that foundational work to really just to get to understand the process. One of the things that I really do suggest is start engaging in the kind of conversation. So that's why I do my talks. And some of them are free, public, virtual talks, which are great because they begin to start talking about some of the steps up front. What are you actually doing in counseling, for example? And then a move to some other talks that I do, more paid talks, as well as workshops, of which we start working collectively. We start helping really people as a group, and that can be combined with some life coaching that really help to be that guide on the side to sort of help educate you on some thoughts, idea for yourself to really consider, but you go do the work. And so those are some of the things I would suggest. Utilize the website growhumanpotential.com, as a resource for you. And if some of the things there fit, seemingly apply, let me know. I'd be happy. It'd be a tremendous honor, which is why I'm doing this work, because it's the great interest I have of seeing others accomplish this turnaround that I did and become their full potential. Right? To wake up every day with meaning, purpose, love, and joy. So much better.
I definitely agree with that. And I think will fall into your path because you are seeking them out to be a better person and be a better self. So thank you for your time, Michael. As Michael said, he can go to his website, growhumanpotential.com, for all the resources, the talks, the webinars. And we will be back next time for some more reflection on the entire book.
Thank you, Marissa. Thanks, everybody. Hi there. Thanks for viewing the video. Be sure to check out my website, www.growhumanpotential.com, for a lot more information on the topics of personal growth and self-discovery. There you'll find information on my book on personal growth, self-discovery, ebook on leadership, coaching, which I provide both career coaching and life coaching, access to my blog, etc. Most importantly, I hope to have provided you with some information to help you on your journey to discover you. Have a great day. Thank you.